What's up guys, the Strong Boys 19 here. This is going to be my tribute video to one of the co-founders and guitarists from one of my most favourite metal bands of all time, if not a top 10 favourite band of all time contender, Mastodon. A band who I still continued to cherish, and we've lost, in my opinion, one of the greatest guitarists of the generation of metal. Brent Hinds. He passed away at the age of 51 on the 20th of August from a motorcycle accident. Despite what went down between the differences and multiple different reports about the band's continuation and with what Brent said about the band, personally, we're not going to go into that, because to think about it again is not really appropriate. We know what went down. There have been these discussions of who's right and who's wrong about all of that, but I want this video to be a celebration. Let's not talk about what went down that happened a few weeks back. It was a very difficult moment at this time, as soon as we heard the news about Brent. I want to say this right now, guys. This had to be one of the worst tragedies, and it's one of the worst timed moments, because of what we saw recently from social media and the news about the separate musicians recently. And when it happened, that was the most off-timed moment. Mastodon wouldn't have been Mastodon without Brent. As phenomenally talented and incredible the rest of the band had been, from Bill to Bran and Troy, Brent was the heart of the band. I love every member of the band equally through their craft as musicians and songwriters. We know Brent went into the interest of being a part of different side projects, but the most obvious band out of all of them was Mastodon. Brent was a renowned, beloved, and inspirational guitarist. He's one of my all-time favourites. The more I thought about Brent's guitar work, I paid a very close attention a lot of the time, because he's not like your usual samey guitarist. He had delivered and achieved so many skills that made Mastodon's music even bigger than before. I do have all of their albums on CD. I have most of their albums on vinyl, so I will be more than happy to show you them right now. The debut album, Remission, their heaviest album, and I love the beautiful embossed packaging. This is a re-release from 2014. There are some ferociousness of sound and the tone that the band created for this album. Some of my most favourite Mastodon songs are on here, like with Crusher Destroyer, March of the Fire Ants, and Trainwreck, Elephant Man. I have loved a lot of this album. I'm still a big fan of it. The beginning of Mastodon's sound, where everything was so destructive and sludgy. Brilliant debut album. Then, from the inspiration of the novel of Moby Dick that was read from Bran Daly's interest, they created Leviathan, which is to me one of the strongest concept albums of all time. Not my favourite Mastodon album, but it is still a phenomenal achievement. Mastodon's material from this album onwards had started to become progressive. We know the songs of Blood and Thunder, Sea Beast, Iron Tusk, Hearts Alive. Everything about this album is still perfection. And Brent's lead guitar work really started to become alive later on in the band's art. Joseph Merrick, the follow-up instrumental to Elephant Man, beautiful stuff. It shows the virtuosity and the growth of Mastodon's prolific talent. Blood Mountain. This is again another amazing album. Brent's guitar playing on this album had begun to be very inventive. The precision and the tone that he made over time while being in Mastodon has been unstoppable. Crystal Skull, Sleeping Giant, Capillarian Crest, Colony of Birchmen. I have a lot of memories of hearing that song, especially with the music video, and then to hear it again, surprisingly, on the Saints Row 2 video game. This Mortal Soil, Pendulous Skin. I have to mention these instrumentals at the end of these albums because these instrumentals have made us listen to how inspired and textured the guitar playing was during Mastodon's career. Some of the most expressive as well. Blood Mountain is another strong album. Crack the Sky. I've talked about this album for so many times, and I think it will be the last time to talk about the album very briefly. I did a 25-minute review of this album because this album means so much to me. When the news broke out about Brent, I did wear my Hushed and Grim album cover t-shirt. After my workout from the gym, I did play this album in full. Before I pressed the play button, I said, "Rock in peace, Brent." And after the last note of music from The Last Baron, I said, "For Brent." Crack the Sky is a magnum opus album. This is one album I have always celebrated and will always continue to celebrate it. This defines the band as a whole. The guitar solo work from Brent's creativity on this album is mesmerizing. It always has been. Not gonna lie, when I was listening to the songs of The Tsar and The Last Baron, there were moments that I felt pretty emotional because it's one of the greatest pieces of music ever recorded, and Brent's voice and signature playing had been just a magical piece. They have come so far as a band, and Brent's delivery had amplified more of their signature magic of music. If you want to see my reviews of Mastodon's albums so far, please feel free to check them out. And when I talked about this album for quite a long time, that really shows my admiration. This was not a signature from Brent. This was at a time when I met Bill Kelleher for the first time, and that was amazing. I treasure this album. The Hunter, which many people would cite this as one of their least favourites or some of their favourites, it has been a pretty divisive album. I want to come back to Mastodon and review this dedicated to Brent, because we know the meaning behind this album. This album was a dedication album for Brent's brother. And now that Brent's left us, I think now is the time to come back to Mastodon and review this album. This is a very, very good album. Black Tongue to Curl of the Burl, the title track, The Sparrow, another fantastic closing track. I think some of the songs on this album have been really great stuff. Pretty underrated. Most Mastodon fans would say that the first 4 albums have been the band at their best, but you cannot knock off some of the latest stuff. Tragedy did struck pretty much through the inspiration on Crack the Sky, because obviously with the title track it was a dedication piece for Brandela's sister, and the tragedy continued to grow onwards when they made this album. Very, very good album. Once More Round the Sun. I think this is their most underrated album. I remember when this album came out, there were differences of instrumentation and the genres. I think some of the guitar playing on this is still awesome. And I would like to maybe do a re-review of this album, because I did review this when it came out and I still defend it. I am still a pretty positive fan of this album. Still, to me, quite divisive, like with The Hunter. But Once More Round the Sun shows more of the adventurousness that Brent had moved himself into. Especially with his style of guitar playing. He's not your usual shredder. Although his legato has been amazing to hear, but he did get involved with the chicken picking, and that added so much of the interesting direction of him as a guitarist. Just incredible. Emperor of Sand. Another Mastodon album to which some would share a mostly positive reaction. There were other fans who would be a bit critical of this album, but I never had a lot of issues with this one. It's pretty different, and the inspiration is still heavy, involving the illness of cancer, which became a heavy theme for this album. And the final album, again, with the same traumatic times for the band mentally and personally. Hushed and Grim. I gave this album a very positive review, and it was one of my favourite albums of the year it came out, 2021. This was a tribute album and a dedication to Nick John. This album, to me, features some of their most mournful and heartfelt pieces of music. Besides the production being rougher and rawer sounding, but I think that adds so much of the power. When you think about the songs now, and to look at the lyrics, this will be a hard-hitting album. It has been hard-hitting for the band and for the fans, because it has been an emotional album. But when you look at the lyrics now, and to think about some of the songs, I remember that I've loved loads of them, like Pain with an Anchor, Sickle and Peace, Tear Drinker, and Had It All. The last song on here, Gigantium, that was the final time we hear Brent's sleek guitar work, and that went out on a high. To me, this is another fantastic album. a very strong discography, and it still is a blast to listen to Mastodon. Remission. This is the electric blue with Grimace purple pinwheel splatter edition. It's a pretty difficult word to pronounce, but this reissue is absolutely beautiful. Done a wonderful job. Incredible reissue. If you want to have a look at these types of pressings, look them up, because these are reissues to collect. Leviathan with the different artwork. This is the royal blue with bone white pinwheels splatter vinyl edition. There's the white coloured vinyl of Blood Mountain. Again, one of the best things about Mastodon through their art has been the presentation of the artwork, and it sounds incredible. Amazing stuff. I do have 2 pressings of Crack the Sky. The picture disc version, which was, I believe, a Christmas present. To see the artwork of this is beautiful, and it is my favourite Mastodon album artwork, but the sound quality wasn't as full. I decided to keep this. Then I decided to buy the usual vinyl edition from Discogs. This is really the artwork that I adore the most. As much as that the previous album artworks have been spectacular, but Crack the Sky's artwork is one of my most favourite of all time. I have 2 separate pressings of Once More Round the Sun, the double picture disc version. Again, this was a present, and it is very, very nice. And I decided to buy the double album pressing with the different artwork. I need to get the Hunter and Emperor of Sand Hushed and Grim with the enlarged beauty of the artwork. I'm still processing this. To really think about Mastodon, who have been going forward without Brent, and with Brent doing his own thing in his career, that tragically had been cut short. I'm still finding it pretty hard to move forward for now. Mastodon have been one of those bands who continues to mean a lot to me. And with Brent Hinds, he's one of the best. The lineup of Mastodon in the classic lineup defines modern metal at one of its best. My heart goes out to Brent, his friends, his family, and to Mastodon themselves. Thank you guys for watching, and I will keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.